These guys are pretty special.
Yeah, they are special. And my first reaction is
Chris Petersen for Hyde.
They finally got it right. I think these things are so political so often. A lot of these awards go to the best player on the best teams and those type of things. But I think these are three guys that are truly deserving. I think Shaq is an unbelievable utility special team guy, let alone a really good football player, whether we played him at linebacker or whatever. But I think that was well deserved and at the right spot. I think it's real easy for the defensive interior guys, a guy like Danny, to be overlooked and throw some other names out there. But I think somebody paid attention to what these guys were doing and how many tackles Danny has and how he got these tackles, and certainly how these sacks and that position is going to speak for itself just because it's going to show up in such a splashing way. And so I think it's awesome, and my hat's off to the people that selected this stuff, that I think it's really appropriate.
What does that do for your program as far as a recruiting tool? Maybe saying, look at these guys, what they accomplished with hard work at the University of Washington, and come here and do the same things.
Well, I think it shows you can achieve, so many goals if you do it the right way. And the one thing about all three of those guys is they've done it the right way. They're tremendous workers. There's so many things that go on behind the scenes, what these guys do in terms of, how old he's up here every night late, locked in a room. We don't even see him, and, who left his light on, and he's in there watching tape. I think Danny's taking the next step without question, and, Shaq can do it all, so he's studying all over the place.
We've talked all year about just Danny's production from that position as a guy at 340 pounds. Has he reminded you of anyone maybe you've had or seen maybe even at the next level? Or how special has this been?
There's and that's kind of how we think about it. Who does this guy remind you of? That you've had of good players, and he reminds me of no one I've been around in interior like that is that strong. He's so strong in there to take on double team linemen, but then when you see him running down the line of scrimmage and making plays on an option or a screen, I think that's what's really separated him. And he's got that explosiveness that, you can see him at times just, knock people back. And he's done it all year. And just playing on that consistent basis has been so impressive.
Did that barrel roll in the Apple Cup get a couple extra replays?
We told him to retire the move. Don't spoil it. Just move on. We'll see if he does.
I suspect you noticed that JJ also got All-American mention.
I heard that, and I think it's great. I think he's a really good player, and he's been consistent. He's been consistent last year, this year, and so again, well deserved.
Does it kind of add credence? Someone said it gives credence to your program, but now all of a sudden it gives credence to the fact that you've done it in multiple programs now that you can produce All-Americans.
This is a player's game, and I don't think our coaches are under any illusion that to do really good things, and they're doing really good things over at Boise, and we're getting some things. You got to have good players. And a lot of guys have good coaches, and I think you get the combination of those two things. That's when special things can happen.
Shaq said he hasn't made a decision about his future yet. Will you be helping in that process, and when do you think the time is appropriate?
Well, I think it's after our last game, and I'll help Shaq and any of our players any way I can. And you just got to think about him in terms of, okay, if this was your son, what's the right thing to do for him? And I think when you think like that, it makes things pretty clear most of the times.
Some coaches have a general rule about if you're projected so-and-so spot, or if most people think you're going to be a first rounder, you would suggest they go. Do you have a general philosophy that way?
No, I think each guy and each position is a little bit different. I think if you're a running back, you're getting the ball so much. A little bit like Bishop Sankey last year. As opposed to another position, maybe it is better to come back and you can take that next step and really elevate yourself in the draft. So I think everything's different. Timing, all those things factor into it.
Sounds like these first handful of practices have been largely dedicated to some of the young guys, kind of getting them some extra reps. Has that been the case? And I guess, what have you seen? Anyone jump out to you?
We have been getting our young guys some more reps, but I mean, everybody's getting reps. Usually in the past, the young guys don't get any reps where we're really coaching them, so we've gotten that done. But we're moving forward, and we're trying to get back into this. And we're working really hard to not go out there and go through the motions and get sweaty and not really get better. And it's hard to do that at this time when the game is still a ways away. And so that's something we're challenging these guys with, that we're building skill and we're getting better, or why are we out here?
How deep do you get into Oklahoma State, I guess, before you break over the weekend?
Pretty deep.
Okay.
You know, we want to have a lot done, and then those guys get some time off. We come back to Arizona and go again.
What kind of team are they, for people who haven't seen them?
Well, we're still in the process of, really analyzing everything, but I mean, I think they're similar to us. I think that they have some very good players. I think that they've played some really good teams, and they played some of those teams pretty tough that have been ranked teams, and it hasn't turned out there for a stretch, but you could see them at the end playing a really good Oklahoma team, getting some things done. And so I've said from the start, I think this is a really good matchup. We'll have our hands full. I think our guys know this when they're watching tape. I mean, it's good players and a good matchup.
Chris, you move players to different positions all season. Do you do more of that now in the bowl game, or just keep them where they were?
Well, we're doing that a little bit out of necessity, and if we can stay relatively healthy through the bowl practices, try to keep these guys put and try to put the best plan together that we've had, and let them play fast.
You take a lot of pride in the fact that you've been pretty successful in these bowl type scenarios when you've had some time to prepare.
Well, I think a bowl game is really important to most teams. I really do, and it's always been very important to us. I think it's important for the seniors. I think it's important for going forward. And so this isn't, I think it's great for the kids. It's a reward, and it's going to be a good time in Arizona. But I think everybody understands, we want to do our best. I mean, we want to play our best at the end of the season, and this is an important game for us.
Okay, sorry, Coach.